The Disney Fairies franchise was a bit of a black sheep among Disney's various spin-off brands, as it was a prequel to a classic movie, an adaptation of a book series, and also its own thing all at the same time. But that being said, the movies themselves were actually pretty good, all things considered, and certainly something that children would like, and particularly little girls. Though there are also things for the boys to enjoy as well. And today, I'd like to quickly go over all 6 Tinkerbell movies and specifically rank how I felt about each one. And there will be spoilers for most of the movies in the series ahead. So in case you aren't completely caught up and don't want to know what happens, you should probably come back to this video another day. You have been warned. Okay, so to get right into it, coming in at number 6, with that being the worst, or more accurately, least best, since I don't really think any of these movies are bad, is Tinkerbell and the Lost Treasure. Now, as I just said, I don't think this is a bad movie. It's just always been my least favorite, mainly because the plot is kind of generic, and the more feisty side of Tinkerbell's personality isn't put to great use here, especially when compared to some of the other movies. But it does still have its good points, especially in how it builds on Tinkerbell's relationship with Terrence, even if it does end up going nowhere, as well as having a pretty good sidekick in the form of Blaze. And having Tinkerbell accidentally waste the last wish and have to come up with a more creative way to set things right was also rather interesting. Overall, it's just average, having both good and bad elements. So next at number 5 would be the original Tinkerbell movie. And similar to The Lost Treasure, the main reason for that is because it comes off as kind of generic. Tinkerbell wants to visit Earth, only to find that Tinkers can't, so she tries to get a new talent, only to end up accepting her place and being able to go to Earth after all. So overall, it's pretty standard stuff. Though at the same time, the plot does allow for a good introduction to all the different fairies and how their talents work. So world building wise, it works very well. And Vidya also makes for a perfect antagonist, as her vanity is extremely obvious and serves as the perfect motivation for her actions. So again, while it doesn't make for the best origin story ever, it's also far from bad, especially compared to the original version of the script. And now at number 4 is The Secret of the Wings, because not only does this movie have a more interesting plot, but also much higher stakes than the previous 2 entries, which helps make the story more engaging. And not to mention, the expanded world building is something that's easy to get into, and Tinkerbell and Periwinkle are very believable as sisters, and their chemistry is the heart of the movie. The only things that keep it from being ranked higher is both because things arguably get a little too intense or melodramatic at times, more so than it needed to, as well as that it feels a bit contrived that all of these amazing things always happen to Tinkerbell. What are the chances that out of the thousands of fairies in existence, she'd be the one with a twin sister? But other than that, it makes for a pretty solid entry into the series overall. Now, coming in at number 3 would be the Pirate Fairy. Having a villain in the form of an exiled fairy with the ability to switch talents was not only a very interesting idea, but one that works very well. Especially for how the movie plays Tinkerbell and her friends having to handle the change and adjust to having talents they aren't used to. Really, it might just be the funniest movie in the series because of that. And Zarina's redemption is actually handled pretty well and is made believable that she would reform. because I got into in another video, which you can find a link in the description to. Disney has had a notoriously hard time making villain redemptions work, but this was most definitely an exception. And Tom Hiddleston voicing a young Captain Hook who becomes the real villain at the end, that's just the cherry on top. And now at number 2 would be Tinkerbell the Great Fairy Rescue, exploring the concept of what would happen if an ordinary human were to find out fairies exist, all the while Tinkerbell's friends from the first 2 movies unite to save her. This is one movie that sinks its hook into the audience right from the start. And the contrast between Tinkerbell's relaxed interactions with Lizzie, combined with the action of her friends trying to get to her, makes for the perfect balance, especially with the constant danger looming in the background of fairies being discovered by all of mankind. But one of the best elements of the movie is actually Vidya, as she goes from being the same old jerk to somebody so riddled by guilt that it causes her to redeem herself and officially become one of Tinkerbell's friends. And similar to Czarina, not only is it a very believable transition, but an incredibly well done one to boot. Sure, maybe the characters don't always make the smartest decisions, but that isn't enough to detract from everything it does right. And coming in at number 1 would be Tinkerbell and the Legend of the Neverbeast. Letting Tinkerbell sit on the sidelines this time and allowing Fawn to take center stage, there's nothing that this movie does wrong. The voice cast does an excellent job. The story is a great and interesting one. The dynamic between Fawn and Gruff is perfect, and unlike certain other Disney movies, this one knows how to keep the twists coming, with Nyx in particular probably making for the best sympathetic antagonist Disney's ever done because of that, as I even got into in another video, which you can also find a link in the description too. Now, say I'm wrong all you want, but as far as I'm concerned, this will always be the best Tinkerbell movie, as well as made for the perfect ending to a pretty good series of movies all around. Okay, I think that pretty much wraps things up. Now tell me what you guys think. How would you rank the 6 movies in the Tinkerbell series? And how does it compare to my ranking? Please feel free to let me know in the comments below. And as I already said, you don't have to agree with anything I said in this video if you don't want to. You can feel any way you'd like about Tinkerbell and her movies, and nobody can tell you you're wrong. And thank you all for watching. I really appreciate all of it. And I hope to see you all next time.